Hi everyone. Right. I appreciate I am the last thing standing between everyone and home or a free bar, so you'll be pleased to hear this is a lightning talk. Should be no longer than like 10 minutes or so. Um, just before I start, a quick show of hands. Has anyone not heard of Monzo before? Anyone not know what we do? Awesome. I can cut a whole lot out at the beginning. So, so yes, we are Monzo. We're a bank. You get a fancy color card. You can spend money in shops. You can use things like your phone to pay for things. Very novel. And we have an amazing app that allows you to control all your finances and talk to our incredible customer operations team. It's all very, very good. But on to what I'm here to talk to you about. So first of all, hello, I'm Chris. I'm the platform team lead here at Monzo, and I'm also heavily involved in the on-call team here as well. I'm on call myself as well, and I'm going to talk to you about incidents and how Monzo manages incidents, manages them here. So it's kind of important to understand that we can't stop incidents. Incidents are like a fact of life. They're something that are inescapable. But what we can do is we can improve how we respond to them and how we can learn from them. So I've spent quite a lot of time recently thinking about how we can improve how we handle and deal with incidents, so that we can make sure that the response is as swift as possible. Um, and as we've grown, like good incident response has become increasingly important. So we started writing some tooling to improve how we do that essentially. So before we started writing the tool, we kind of came up with some objectives of what it was that we were really looking to kind of move the needle on. So when we manage incidents, we were already heavily invested in Slack, which is a messenger tool, in case you're not aware. Um, And what we really wanted to do was to like double down on that and make it possible to do everything that you need to do as someone leading an incident without having to leave Slack at all. Um, and the other things we wanted to do was to make it possible to build like reports as for those kinds of incidents as easily as possible without having to kind of go through that manual step of, incidents complete. I have to go and write a report on it and pull together a timeline. Like it's really painful. And when you set the bar low for incidents, which is something that we do here at Monzo, we treat even the most kind of mundane kind of deviation from the normal as an incident. When you set that bar that low, it becomes quite a costly thing to do when you're doing it very manually. So that was another goal that we had. And then ultimately, like the ultimate goal that anyone should have, I think, from incidents is to see them as a valuable thing. That's something that you can learn from, and something that you can share within your engineering organization, and as a result, get better. Like recalibrate mental models, understand what really went on, how your systems really actually work. So this is largely a very, very high level kind of what we put together. So we have a kind of human operator who interacts with Slack. Slack then has a whole wealth of like APIs and event streams that you can subscribe to, and we send those all to a backend that lives fully outside of our infrastructure. Um, it's written in Python. It's relatively simple. It's just a lot of like coordination tasks for us. And then we have a web UI as well, which kind of allows us to view those incidents in a nice kind of easily consumable way. So I'm going to walk through now like a little bit of how it actually works in practice, like how we use it here and kind of some of the features that we built into it. It's worth pointing out as well that this is not yet a finished thing. This is very much a work in progress, something that will probably evolve as long as we're using it. So assuming this loads, which it does, so this is kind of how an incident is triggered. Anyone at the company can raise an incident. It's not an engineering thing. So our customer operations team will raise incidents in much the same way if they see things. All we require at this stage is you basically fire off a slash command, and you do a brief description of what that incident was about, what was going on there. So in this instance, someone notified of an uptick in errors in an edge proxy. And once triggered, the bot then provides a link to what we call the headline post. So we have an incidents channel. That's a channel where humans don't post things. It's purely a stream of posts that look just like this, for all of the various incidents that have been triggered across our infrastructure. So like notable things here, it automatically pulls in who reported that thing. There's a bunch of blank things yet to be filled in. It provides a link to a document, and then some buttons basically that allow you to do various actions on that incident. Also, something that happens at the same time is it creates an incident in a database, which is then viewable through the kind of web UI, which again presents much of the same information as that headline post in Slack, but it goes deeper and goes kind of broader as well as the kind of incident evolves. And this is like really useful if we have a particularly complex or long running incident. So this is the way that someone who has not been involved in the incident can get up to speed and onboarded onto it really quickly, essentially. So it gets more and more full as the kind of incident goes along. So most incidents require some level of like coordination to resolve. And as I said, like we use Slack for all of that. So there's that button in the bottom right for creating a comms channel. So when that is clicked, the bot will go off, create a custom brand new channel for you, link to it in that headline post, and you're good to kind of go from there. And because that comms channel is created from that incident post, it has all the context. It knows that everything that happens inside that channel is directly related to that incident. So what that really means is that we can then fire a bunch of commands in that channel, and anything that does happen can instantly be tied back to that original incident. And the kind of format that we use is this kind of @incident, and then there's like a command keyword type thing, and then the action that follows that. And we have a whole bunch of these different commands essentially. I'm going to walk through a few of those now. So first things first, every incident needs to have a lead. Like we want to make it super clear who's responsible for dealing with that incident. We want to, so they're the person who's in control of everything that's going on. And this command allows us to assign a lead to that. And when we do this, the bot will respond with a reaction to basically say it's acknowledged that that's happened. And it will then automatically update the headline post with whoever the lead is, and it puts it in that kind of live incident doc as well. So one other thing that we know is that like our understanding of what's going on in an incident evolves as we learn kind of what's going on. So that initial report might be like a distance away from what's actually happened when we've kind of got into the kind of nuts and bolts of it all. So the @incident summary and impact commands are useful for kind of our updating of that as the kind of the timeline evolves. And all of these are logged to a timeline on that kind of main incident doc. So we have a really clear audit trail after the incident of like what we were thinking at a given time and how that changed as the incident evolved, which is something we found really, really useful. And then this is kind of in the incident doc, the snippet at the top that will be updated as a result of calling those commands. So this is curiously one of the most liked features. So when you create an incident, you get kind of one of those time-stamped kind of channels. And if you have a few of those on the go at any kind of given time, it's really hard to figure out what's going on. And this command allows you just to simply rename your channel into something more specific, more related to the incident for kind of discoverability. And randomly, I appear to be very busy in this bot because it's tied to my Slack token, and the API currently requires a human token to be able to do that kind of API call. So the other thing we've got is incident action, which tags an action against that live incident doc. So this is like a super useful thing to have when you're kind of midway through an incident and you've maybe made a change that is something that is a short-term fix that is just to, fix that or mitigate that incident immediately. Or something that you've changed and you want to improve back in office hours, or you want to remind yourself to talk to someone the next day. Calling incident action is like a really shortcut way of just tagging it against that incident, and the snippet there is of the incident doc to show the kind of resulting action of that. I mentioned earlier that one of the painful things during an incident is building a timeline after the fact and how painful that can be. So what we've implemented is a way that you can essentially walk through your incident channel, You can pin all the messages that are kind of really important or useful information as a result, and those will all just automatically appear in that timeline. So yeah, really, really useful, that one. And then the resulting kind of context at this point is that you have a pretty fully formed incident report with a lot of like information for free. Um, things like top participants, for example, is actually a really useful one for kind of figuring out the kind of people who need to be invited to debriefs as well. So that's quite handy too. So all of those things are kind of great, but it's like easy in the heat of an incident to forget to do things and to, trying to like throw process at people and say, you should be assigning leads and you should be doing all these other things. It just doesn't work. It's like, as someone who's on call, like when you're dealing with an incident, it's so easy to forget these things. So what we've kind of started implementing is this kind of concept of like nudges to help people do the right thing. And they've been really, really effective for us. So these are a few of those kind of things that we've implemented. So for starters, we want all incidents to have a kind of severity assigned to them, because it's useful for kind of filtering things, working out whether we need to get more people involved, all sorts of things like this. If after 15 minutes an incident hasn't got a severity set, it will nudge you and say, "Hey, listen, set a severity." And it's really useful, and it's useful as well to not have to set this kind of thing. So we could have implemented a kind of mechanism where people have to set the severity up front, and we block and say, you've got to set the severity at the beginning. Often people haven't got a clue what the severity is when an incident is started. So it's useful to kind of just have this as a lagging kind of thing that people can supply. This is a fun one. So as a regulated business, there are times when we have to let the regulator know, and specifically they care about things like if there is any kind of customer impact, we have like an obligation to let them know as soon as possible. And there have been times when the regulators found out about incidents because we put a status page up, and lots of people at the FCA are Monzo customers, and they'll see that and they'll be, concerned that we didn't email them ahead of time, and it's purely because we prioritize communicating with our customers over a regulator. We have a team that deals with regulator comms, and this nudge here is essentially it looks for any mentions of the status page, which is usually spoken about before we put it up, and then it will automatically go and ping that team to tell them to go and notify the FCA if required. And then finally, it's really important that we get these reports kind of completed so that we have like a full trail of what went on and have all the information at hand. But it's so easy to forget. And before this tool, we used to have like our risk and compliance team would essentially go through incidents and chase people like to get everything filled out. And it was pretty ineffective, and people saw it as a real kind of attack on their time that they should be doing other more valuable things. And we managed to improve this massively to kind of near 100% success just by when we close that incident, which is done through a button on that headline post or calling an incident command. The bot will just ping the incident lead or the reporter if the incident lead hasn't been set, and essentially provide them a link directly to this form to kind of fill out the incident and complete it. So we get basically 100% success rate on things being filled out and up to date and relevant. And then this is essentially what we get as a fully completed report. So we have it's resolved, it has all of the various bits in there. This is obviously a slightly toy example. They're often a lot more fully featured than that. But they're a really, really useful information source for kind of following up on incidents and going into an incident debrief. So what we've built so far has kind of drastically improved our ability to deal with incidents, and has removed a lot of like the mundane tasks involved around reporting them. What we haven't yet really solved is that kind of that goal of making them something that's really easy to kind of learn from. So we hoped that we'd have this tool and that the UI would be something that engineers across the company would love to browse and learn lots about how things are failing. It's not. It's genuinely not been the case. But we do have like plans now, and this is where we're working next to kind of apply a human touch. So I think we've reached the realization that this is a great information source. It's not a great knowledge source. So We're working on ways to essentially create more curated docs where we can pull in this information in an automated way. And that is everything I had. Thank you.
That's great. Have we got any questions at all? Right at the back.
So the impression I had is that this incident report is kind of an in-progress doc of like what are the steps rather than what are the root causes, what are the learnings. Have you considered like instead of like maybe an additional like turn this report into something more like a postmortem, which may be more educational?
So I think that's what I was talking about at the end. Essentially, this is a great information source, and it requires some kind of like it. I don't think you get learnings for free. I think you have to curate those. So that's kind of what we want to get to the point of. Is this is a useful starting point for creating a more useful debrief, essentially.
Hi. I love that. That's such a great idea. I would love to see more companies use something like that. Any plans to open source it?
Yes.
Yay!
Hey, Chris.
Hello.
So I can see that a lot of that's metadata and information getting recorded as you go along. Can you see that extending into actual actions being taken by the bot, actually turning it into more of a chat ops, so it can go and do things, perhaps human interactions, telling it to go and do things, perhaps going and more automatically doing things? Or is it always going to stick in that information metadata context?
We do have plans to use it in a more automated way. I don't think necessarily looking at the metadata and like taking actions as a result right now, but we do have plans for automated processes to use the bots to deal with incidents themselves. So things elsewhere in our infrastructure. So dealing with mundane tasks, they would create their own incident, they would post lots of updates, and you'd come in the next morning and go, an incident happened, and here's the same kind of traceability, but a bot did it.
But not a person in the incident channel going, I think we need to scale this thing up by a bit.
Exactly that.
Please do that incident bot.
Not right now. Well, yeah, there's no plans right now, but we do have this plan for this thing to go, hey, I noticed I needed to scale a thing up, and I did it for you completely kind of separately, but that's not the bot doing it. The bot's purely reporting that.
Thank you.
Cool.
Hi. So thanks for the presentation. I'm using Monzo on day-to-day basis. I love the application. So the idea which you're showing, I just would like to know that how that bot is interacting with your like natural language. Are you using any kind of NLP framework with, right now, or you're planning to integrate your incident system with that?
There's no NLP in there at the moment. So at the moment, as you saw, like the incident commands are pretty structured. So you kind of have to know the keyword, and we have a help thing that shows you all the various keywords, and then it's generally free text after it. We do have some, like I've seen other things that do it really well. Right now, the priority for us has just been to get something functional and operational, and it's working well in its current form.
Yeah, one more, sorry.
How about adding images or integration with Grafana or something like that?
Yeah, or like we want to add lots more things into it. So something we're working on right now as well is automatically pulling in alerts into the timeline, because it's a useful kind of artifact afterwards. Everything on the UI supports Markdown and everything's editable, so we can paste images into there at the moment. Like the opportunities are endless, essentially. Like we'll basically see what works and go after it like that.
Yeah, maybe one more, last one, sorry.
What if Slack isn't available?
We have backup plans to move to like Google Chat. So we have disaster recovery for that kind of thing, and we would revert to a manual process. It's not business critical.
You're not dependent. Sure.
Yeah. We'd revert to old methods of doing like a live Google Doc and Google Chat. Yeah. So you can do pretty much everything through the Slack thing direct on the UI as well. So, and it lives on Google Cloud, where everything else we run lives in AWS.
Any more questions? I think Chris will be around for.
I'll be at the pub.
At the pub,
Yeah.
Great. Okay, good stuff. So yeah, the pub. If anyone wants to come, the Singer Tavern. If you just follow the crowd, it's about 2 minutes away. Also, we have a competition winner, which I'll announce now. Chosen at random, Marenza Douglas. Yee.